Insights, solutions, and networking all come together at RSA Conference. Join a global cybersecurity community at rsaconference.com/ITSP Mag 24.
Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Every company has a story to tell, from the small startup to the large enterprise, and everything in between. This is one of them. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Marco.
Sean.
I feel that we get to peek behind the curtain today.
Behind the curtain, that's kind of scary. But when you get in between the years, when the year change, either you look back or you look ahead. And we just talked about this before start recording that it doesn't matter. You need to look backward to look forward anyway. So let's see what is behind the curtain. Exactly. What are we talking about today, Sean?
Well, we get to have a ton of fantastic conversations with our friends in Imperva. A lot of the research they do and some of the things they see and how they get to help their customers navigate this crazy world of cybersecurity and application security and data security. And it's a lot of it is driven by research. And today we have the chance to actually learn more about that research. What's going on? What are they looking at? And who better than Oz himself behind the curtain of heading up all this intelligence. And I'm thrilled to have you on, Nadav. It's a pleasure to meet you, and excited for today's conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to be clear of one thing. We're not thinking that you're like puffing smoke and making funny lights. The idea of the Oz is kind of like, foreseeing something, but in a good way, not in a bad way.
Yeah, I didn't prepare any fireworks.
All right. Let's not look too much behind the curtain.
No, I think the point is you have to look at things and then also look inside yourself, right? So the intelligence is only as good as how you ingest it and use it in your own organization. And I think we'll probably touch on that as well. But before we do, can you give us a little background on who you are, what you're up to, maybe what led you to this role at Imperva?
Yeah, right. Okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Nadav Avital. I lead the Imperva threat research team in the last 3 years or so. Prior to that, I did many threat research roles, starting from security analyst, security researcher, data science, a little bit of reverse engineering, so a little bit of everything, really. And going even further back, like my background and my roots are in software development. This is like how I got started with everything. And after working in Imperva, I fell in love with the cybersecurity domain, and here I am.
Yep. So I guess you always need a bunch of different experience to be able to get the bigger picture. It's some recurring theme that I'm finding in a lot of conversation in cybersecurity. Like you're got to be a little bit of a chameleon, but focus on a specific target. But look around and come from different aspects of the research. So I think you're, as we know, perfectly positioned to unveil these curtains. And then I'm not going to make that curtain joke anymore. But looking back, 2023, is that anything that really caught your attention, some trends that make you be like, okay, I can really pay attention to these things here?
Yes, so like every year is unique. Every year we have some like new technologies, new events that shape our world. And 2023 was no different. We had many new technologies introduced, a lot of geopolitical events that shaped the way things are, and cybersecurity is no different to be affected like from these two things. So when I look back at 2023, I think there are a few things that kind of like I would consider as top, I don't know, like most prevalent threats. So I think perhaps starting with, I'm not sure like this is like order of importance, but let's just start talking about this, and we'll see how it goes. So we had this is not something new, but 2023 I feel like had a lot of events or a lot of supply chain attacks that happened during 2023. Most recent one was the Okta incident, and prior to that we had a few others. I think perhaps the most famous one, or more like most covered one, was the MoveIt supply chain attack, where many companies and organizations were affected by it. And we had a few more during 2023. I feel like this was really big this year, more than previous years. So this is like the first thing that I'm thinking about. Other than that, we had a lot, and I mean like a lot, of distributed denial of service attacks. It's like it's kind of a thing that never goes away, and 2023 was the same in this field. We had, I think, probably like 2 or 3 very dominant attack groups. We had Killnet, Anonymous Sudan, and a few others that really had big impact on the type of attacks and the magnitude of attacks that we saw. Some major companies were affected by it. I think perhaps ChatGPT was one of those, or OpenAI were one of those companies where they the ChatGPT service became unavailable. Also, Microsoft suffered from this, and the list goes on and on. So this is another big thing that happened in 2023. From what we saw in Imperva, actually, we saw a lot of attacks on what we consider to be business logic attacks. And like, if someone is not familiar with the term, as business logic attack is an attack that targets flows in the design and implementation of an application. And such flows can actually be exploited by attackers to manipulate legitimate functionality. So one of the most perhaps simple example for this is authentication, or like login process. This is something that almost every service or application has. This is something that is designed for the application to have. It's something that is needed, is crucial for the application to work. But attackers can manipulate this functionality and try to run an attack to take over an account, or to lock an account, or mass creation of new accounts and stuff like that. So they're actually like abusing existing functionality. It's not like a 0-day or anything like this, but it's another type of attack. And what we saw in 2023 was a lot of attacks, a lot of business logic attacks coming our way or our customers' way, with a major focus on APIs. So this is like kind of another like an attack within an attack, but APIs are only getting more dominant, API communication, and attackers are not missing on this opportunity. And in 2023, we saw a lot of shift in attacks towards APIs, and specifically in this category of business logic attacks. So actually, in 2023, I can give as an example two incidents that we saw in Imperva. First one was an airline that had its search API scraped or heavily scraped by automated bots for flight information, and that resulted in over 500K US dollars in charges per month for the API requests. The second incident was an online bank that had their login API targeted by a massive account takeover attack with over 2 million requests, and that caused a large number of account lockouts and potential online fraud in the hacked accounts. So this is
Dov, I want to pause you here because really good examples. So we have a few different things, and I say different purposefully here. In supply chain, you might connect that to APIs, but we'll discuss that in a minute. DDoS and business logic attacks, to me, are three potentially very different ways of doing things. Some more, we can say, visible, right? Some sit on the network, some sit on systems, some sit at the apps, some sit within the apps, some are sitting on services outside that our apps are calling. So I'm wondering where do you look for this information? What are you looking for? What are the signs that you're seeing? And how does that, because I'm sure some of that's out on the broad internet and the dark web, you're looking for signals, but then also working with customers as well. And where I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, what things do you see that others can't? What things should customers see but aren't looking for, that together you can pull together to say, there's some signs, we're seeing activity, and this has a potential for impact, and we're seeing impact at our customers?
Yeah. Okay. So interesting question, actually. There are two categories here. There is, or maybe three. First one is open source intelligence. That's that's available for, I can say, everyone to search, but it's not really everyone. You have to know what you are looking for and where to look for it. So yes, it is available, but you need some expertise to get that information. So this is one source of intelligence that we get, starting from public code repositories, chats, forums, Telegram channels, Discord channels, social media, everything. We have a presence there, and we're constantly monitoring all these resources. So this is one thing. The other thing is, like you mentioned, we have the deep web or the dark web resources. This is again something. It's not. You need to have some knowledge about what you're trying to search and what you're looking for. Looking for stuff like proof of concepts, exploits, discussions about zero-day vulnerabilities, stuff like that. And the third category, which like makes us what like our knowledge unique, is everything that we see from the sensors that we deploy around the globe. And this is, we have like network of honeypots that we're using, and also all the thousands of customers that we are actually protecting. And like we see all the traffic and all the attacks on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and this is like a major huge amount of data. Just to get some perspective, we're talking about trillions of web requests that are analyzed through the Imperva network, and like billions of attacks that are detected each month. So this is a lot of data. And what we do in the threat research group is we take all these different resources of intelligence and put them together to good use. So understanding what's coming, what's hot and what's not, what kind of like emerging threat we're seeing. And it's really nice, in some way that you can see like the evolution of a risk or a threat to an actual like attack in the wild, and then perhaps like in some cases like massive exploitation or campaigns that are built on top of this.
Well, we're really looking behind the curtain here. Now, the quantity is definitely something that nobody can doubt. I mean, you throw some number there that quite impressive. What about the quality in terms of the sophistication? Because you throw a name there of attack that we heard before, the DDoS and a bunch of other things. But of course, I'm going to throw AI in there, so you go with that if you want. And in general, are we looking at a more sophisticated thing, or just the fact that it's easier to attack more in terms of the quantity?
So quality is not just first I want to address like the AI elephant in the room.
Sorry, it was too early.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm used to it. So first of all, quality, like AI doesn't necessarily mean quality.
Okay.
Just put it out there. I'm sure that like everyone by now has some experience with AI technologies, and I think most of us understand that it's not like a magic bullet to solve everything.
Isn't? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
So it's good as the data it's been trained on, and the way that you operate whatever technology that you're using, and perhaps I can say in some relief that until now we haven't seen a lot of use in AI technology in the attacks that we've seen. That's not to say that's not going to happen, but so far, from what we're seeing in real life, there is definitely a lot of threats and a lot of risks around this technology. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that according to what we see, they didn't or haven't materialized yet. But going back to your question, this was just to address the AI part. But going back to your question, it's not just a matter of quantity, like you said. It's also quality, and quality is not just about new technologies. It's also about how you use existing technologies. So let me give you a very perhaps simple example. That zero-day vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities on their own category of vulnerabilities are not new. Like we have like the OWASP top 10 risk. It's been around for, I don't know, like a dozen of years, perhaps more. So like everyone know like command injection and I don't know, like path traversal, SQL injection, stuff like that. And it's not new, but we're always surprised to see how these kind of old categories always turn up in new products, in new ways. And attackers are really, really good in both finding these vulnerabilities and also exploiting them. So going back to the example that I started with the MoveIt breach, this was not some kind of like a novel technology or exploit that was created. It's like a very kind of like old and classic SQL injection vulnerability that was found in the MoveIt file transfer system. And attackers took it with two hands. Perhaps you've heard about the CLOP organization or CLOP cyber group that made a fortune out of it, deploying this attack. This ransom, they created these ransomware attacks based on the MoveIt vulnerability, impacting more than 600 organizations. So, I mean, if you talk about quality, this is, not always you have to go, to the most advanced thing to have like a quality attack.
But what I'm getting from this is more of a more creative way to use the tool that you already have, right? Applying a different way to kind of something new with something old. That's where I'm going with this.
Yes, and this is just one example. Other examples of like quality attacks is, I think, what we're seeing in specifically, and I mentioned that in business logic attacks. So business logic attacks are, in many cases, attackers are trying to mimic some kind of a human behavior and human characteristics, because it's about like this business logic that you're like an operation or functionality that a human being would do. Take, for example, the process of like a digital purchasing. So you need to log into a specific service. Let's say you're buying shoes. So you need to log into, I don't know, like Boots or I don't know, anything else. Browse through the variety of shoes that they have. Choose the ones that you like in your budget. Add them to your cart. Go to the check-in page. Do the payment. The checkout page. Do the payment. So it's a whole process, and when we're talking about abusing this process, and this is, by the way, something that attackers really, really like to do, is automated purchasing, because there's an element of profit there. They're targeting sales and limited goods to buy very quickly, buy all the things that they can, and then sell it with profit. So in this domain, what we're seeing is actually like very quick adaptation of attackers to cyber defense technologies. So whatever we will use to kind of detect this human behavior or this simulated human behavior, attackers will respond very, very quickly and try to evade that. So we know it's not like just like old techniques that they're using. It's like a combination. It's a wide variety of things that, whatever that they can use to make it work, to make their attack work.
So do you see I mean, years ago, we used to talk about low and slow attacks where the whole point, they weren't changing the attack method. They would just drag it out. So no signal would be so strong that they could be detected. Where I feel like today, perhaps technology enables dozens, maybe hundreds of attacks in different ways to see what works. And who cares if we get detected on one because we have 99 more operating somewhere else. Do you see where it's a matter of scale and trying different things in different ways against different targets that makes it easier for them to not get detected, and then also harder for organizations to protect themselves?
I like to think about this as like a equation of not an equation, but kind of like a ROI kind of question. What's the return that like an attacker gets on his investment? If the target is not is not worth the effort, so perhaps it's okay to use well-known, easy to develop or easy to use or cost techniques. But if the target is very lucrative, then it might be worth it for the attacker to invest time and resources to develop some novel kind of approach to get to this target. So it all depends, I think, in attackers' motivation and what they're trying to achieve, really. And you have very a lot of tools. Some of them are very easy to use. Perhaps like for if you want to do like off-the-shelf tools, you might get lucky, but perhaps like the return on your investment, you didn't invest a lot, but the return will also be like not very high. But if you're willing like to target like a very specific, I don't know, like a service or an application that for sure that behind it, it's like I don't know, like a bank, service. That there will be a lot of return on your investment. So yeah, it all depends on the motivation and.
Yeah, talking about investment and money, I'm curious, when we look at the business side of things, you mentioned at the beginning supply chain and other things driven by political and the fact, reality of things. So do you see like a prevalence of certain kind of consequences for the business, like loss of money, loss of business? I mean, what are they experiencing from what you see?
So yeah, impact on organization can come in a lot of different shape and colors, starting from financial losses, talking about ransomware, data breaches, where you need to restore systems from scratch. If we're talking about ransomware, ransom attacks, you need to to pay like the ransom payments, fines that you might need to pay because of regulation. So there is an aspect of financial loss. Operational disruption is another big impact. Attacks that leads to disrupted operation, downtime, loss of productivity, loss of critical data. So this is another impact on organization. We see it in many times in DDoS. Especially when there is, I mentioned that before, when there is like important event, kind of like a very limited limited time sale, or imagine that you have like a concert and there is only like a certain amount of time where you can buy the tickets. So if that during that time the site, the ordering site is down, or not available, that's a major impact on the organization. Another example was just recently, the holiday season, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you name it. If the retail site is down or not available, this is a serious impact on the business.
And can I pause you quickly, Nadav? Because are there cases where a denial of service is used to take the public-facing interface down, and then the same group or another group working in collaboration, leveraging APIs to continue purchasing behind the scenes and manipulating the business logic to bypass the web interface? So
it's
basically prevent the public from buying, and we suck up all the tickets behind the scenes through different means.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, and what we've seen actually is kind of like perhaps the opposite of what you described. We've seen in many cases attacks that kind of start in one way but kind of end up in another way. I'll give you an example. I did mention that banking application that we protect, and the attack started as an account takeover attack, where the attacker tried to use millions and millions of credentials to take over customers' account. And since they were trying like too hard, kind of put it this way, this actually developed into a denial of service attack, where the site can become unresponsive suddenly, just from the sheer volume of of the operations that they tried to do. So yeah, I mean, it's not exactly what you asked, but it's kind of like a opposite direction to it.
Yeah, well, I'm not behind the curtain, so I don't know. That's why I hypothesize. But I'm glad to hear you have the real good stories.
Yeah, and going back to the question of impact, I mean, there is also an impact of reputation damage, and I did mention legal and regulatory challenges. When you have this kind of attacks and breaches. And by the way, like interesting example, I mean, it was just recently, I don't remember exactly like the name of the attack group that did this, but as you might know, in the United States, organizations are required to report to the SEC of any major cybersecurity event. And there was this attack group, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Black Hat, but don't catch me here, that sent in the ransom note, they told the company, if you don't pay out, we're going to report you to the SEC. So that's another interesting angle that attackers are taking,
Wow.
in terms just to get what they're going for.
That's creative. Now it's the bad guy. They're gonna report you to the police. That's really new.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's wild. That's wild. So Nadav, as we wrap here, you talked about that banking customer and the banking application, and you described a bit of what you do there to help at least identify what's going on and help protect them. How and where does what you do fit into how you communicate with customers in terms of things you're seeing, trends you're seeing, activities you're spotting, and how does what you do then fold into not just intelligence and communications, but actual product capabilities that fold into business operations directly. So you can kind of prevent this stuff before it happens.
Yeah.
So two parts there: the intelligence and comms, and then product-based stuff.
Okay. So I'll start with the latter. So Imperva's threat research group is dedicated to protecting cyberspace and defending against cyber attacks. And the research work, it goes, not all of it, but big part of it goes into Imperva's products, Imperva products and solutions, so that our customers are safe and can be focused on what they really want to do on their business and not worry about all these other things, all this cyber attacks and all of this. So we're working with different functions within the company to take all the stuff that we see, all the new protection mitigation that we develop, to productize it and put it into good use in Imperva's solutions that are later on deployed and are used in the real world. So that's the second part of the question. So going back to the first part of the question, so everything, almost everything that we see and learn from threat intelligence and attacks that we see in Imperva network, we report. So we report it in blogs. We talk a lot. We talk in security conferences. We have newsletters. We have monthly reports. So we try to raise awareness as much as we can in a wide variety of forms. I guess this is another type of thing that we do to raise awareness.
Yep, I love it. And yeah, to that point, I mean, I'm looking back at some of the many conversations we've had. We've had bad bot reports. We've had consumer surveys, insider threats, retail, supply chain. Terry, Gabby, loads of folks on with us to talk about the stuff that you uncover related to and directly connected to different types of businesses, different types of threats, different types of industries. And I thoroughly enjoy every one of those conversations. And it's great to actually hear your side of this equation, which is all of this data that you're constantly monitoring externally from your customers and the added value you bring from your team's bright minds to bring all this together. And it's a pleasure meeting and chatting with you, Nadav.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something here because we pack all this conversation and we had many, like Sean said, with Imperva. They're all on a page dedicated to Imperva on ITSP Magazine. So I want people to listen to this, to go there, because there is a lot of different topic. We talk about AI with Ron Benatar. That was a very fun conversation. There is one with Kunal. So, I mean, I think it's a library of knowledge that comes from Imperva and that people should definitely check out and share. And always a pleasure to talk with you guys. It's either behind or in front of the curtain. It's always fascinating.
Well, I was happy to be here.
Yeah, very good. And I don't know if you had any final words for those listening, how they can connect with you and your team.
Yeah, we're just about to launch a new section in Imperva website dedicated to Imperva threat research. So there's there's this to wait for. But I mean, you can browse in Imperva website under usually the blog section. You can find a lot of interesting things that we report on. not only attacks that we're seeing, but also attacks that we're uncovering. 0 days, new vulnerabilities that we uncover ourselves. So just in the last year, we've uncovered, I think it was 6 or 7 unknown security vulnerabilities in many different platforms, starting from Google Chrome, OpenSea, NFT Market, and many, many more. So always interesting to read about this as well. So not only what we're seeing, but also stuff that we prevent from happening to other people, and the webpage that hopefully will be up and running in the next few days.
Perfect. Well, we'll include links to the blog and the research and make those available as soon as we publish this, and we'll be sure to alert our audience as to when the new research page comes up, so everybody can stay tuned for that. And of course, the Imperva directory listing will have all of this available to you as well. So, Nadav, I really appreciate it. I hope to have you back on again. Of course, we're going to chat with other folks throughout Imperva, looking at the work that you do through different lenses, but it's always great to get some behind the scenes. So hopefully you'll join us on a future episode. And thanks everybody for watching and listening here, and be sure to share this. I think the one takeaway for me, Marco, is this isn't just security. This is an impacting business operations through business logic. It sounds like we need to include business folks in this conversation as well. So everybody listening who's in cyber, be sure to share this with your business counterparts so they understand what the impacts can be.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, so thanks everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. I'm glad you agree, Marco.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.
Insights, solutions, and networking all come together at RSA Conference. Join a global cybersecurity community at rsaconference.com/ITSP Mag 24.